Hi, my name's Leonie Bolt, and I went from high school troublemaker and long-time backpacker to accidental entrepreneur. After 15 years working as a professional photographer and running my own studio, I grew into becoming a personal empowerment and business mentor to help other women to follow their passions and find their purpose too. I've learned to pave my own way through life, and now I empower others to do the same, to break through their limiting beliefs and empower them to shine. Welcome to the Empowered to Shine podcast, where we dive deep into creating a life by your own design. Hello and welcome back to the Empowered to Shine podcast. My name's Leonie Bolt, your host, and today our guest is Melanie Midegs, and she is actually a psychosomatic therapist. So before she tells us what that means, I'm going to just say hello and we're going to dive into how she came to be where she's at right now. Hi, Melanie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? And thank you so much for having me on your show. This is cool.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. So we were just having a chat just before we went live, and you're actually in Bali.
Yes, I'm in a little town called Ubud, which is more in the mountains of Bali. And today It's doing a nice tropical rain for us.
Yeah, nice and humid, I bet.
Yes.
So how did you get started on this whole journey?
Of being in Bali, or
how did you get to Bali? How did you become a psychosomatic therapist?
Yeah. So my background has been in corporate for the most part. However, I am a very creative person, and I love your intro to your podcast as well, because I'm definitely a traveler and did many years of backpacking and living all around the world and that sort of thing. And then when I hit 30, I was like, I think I should be doing life how I'm supposed to be doing life, if you know what I mean. So I, found myself a good job and a guy and was like trying to settle down and do all that stuff. But on the inside, I really wasn't happy. It was like trying to put on a front of like, yep, everything's okay, but it's not. And I was seeing it. He was actually a massage therapist based in Brisbane, but he was different. And prior to that, I've done a lot of exploration myself. I'd studied naturopathy and, was already into personal development and spiritual practice and things like this. And I would go and see him. And every time we'd have a body work session, it wasn't massage, it was more body work, my life would just change a little bit. There was just things that would shift, as we went along. And one day he said to me, he's like, hey, Mel, I've got this course, you might be interested. And it was a psychosomatic therapy training course. And basically what psychosomatics is it's the mind-body connection. So in that training, I learned how to read the body, which then is a reflection of our inner world. So how our emotions are, how our mental state is, and how happy we are actually, and what's holding us back. And that was my pivot point. Like, I was like, this just has blown my mind. And I could see how trapped I was in this world that I thought was what I wanted to create. And so that's how I broke out of it. And so from that point, the first training I did, you're running around with no shoes on for 10 days. And I remember getting back to the office and I could not put my heels back on. I was like, it's just not fitting. This is just not it anymore. And so that's basically how it started. And so initially I took a sabbatical from work just as a safety net, but I knew I wasn't really going to go back. And just started paving the way of my mission in life is to teach people about their mind-body connection. And I really wanted to do it with people in the corporate world, in business, because I could see how unhappy people were. But it's been definitely a journey of understanding how to do that in the best way, where people kind of get it and are open to it.
Because it's kind of crossing that bridge between the corporate world and the woo-woo, which, the bridge is getting smaller, but there's still people out there that are like, I don't get
it. Yeah. And it is so awesome because I did start 10 years ago, so I've been working at this the whole time. And there was probably about 4 years ago, I went to Singapore and I went to this, it was called Green is the New Black conference, where people were talking about consciousness in business. And I was like, this is cool. And there were companies like Google and Nike and some other companies in there. And I was like, this is cool. Like, that was the point where I was like, I might be able to get out of the Bali bubble soon and come back to, like, you know, the West, where people are thinking about things differently, you know.
Yeah. And there is, you know, I had a lady on here recently that does feng shui, and there's businesses that are tapping into her from the very get-go, buying a piece of land. You know, it's like, okay, is this land facing the right direction? So even that sort of stuff, people are really starting to bring it into the everyday, you know, bringing that energy work into business, which is really exciting. So what did you learn about yourself learning psychosomatic therapy?
Oh God, I learned so much. It was like at the end of that first training, it was like, what isn't wrong kind of thing. But it's like, that's the only way you can change is by the awareness. But the real catalyst was actually when we did this thing called a face split analysis. So in psychosomatics, we use a tool called face reading because your whole body can be seen in your face. And one of those things is a face split analysis, where we take a photo and split the face and mirror the right-hand side to make a whole masculine and mirror the left to make a whole feminine. And it's actually reflective of those energies. And so you can see the relationship that's happening between the two. And my feminine at that point in time looked like my grandma, and my masculine looked like a little boy. And I was like, wow, how on earth are they supposed to be working together? It was like all my emotions, all my creativity, all of the good stuff had completely shut down. And I was just in this, like, it was just like an adrenal fight or flight. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep riding along and not pay attention. And that to me was like, like something really needs to shift.
Yeah. So did you find when you did shift that your face changed?
Totally. Yeah.
How exciting is that?
I know. And that's what I love about the psychosomatics, is because, you know, we talk about energy all the time, and I used to get so frustrated because I'm like, I can't see it. You know, I'd be working with chakra energy, so I'm like picturing wheels spinning and also, and I'm like, I don't even know if this is doing anything.
Yeah.
But when you can see the physical change that happens in the body and know that the work that you've done and feel the difference of outcome, it's like, like there's transformation in the physical that you can see that's actually happening.
Absolutely. And as a photographer, I've had clients that have, like, you know, I'll have business clients that come back every 12 months for, you know, new shots for their social media or whatever. And you can actually see the transformation in them if they've done a lot of personal growth. I had one particular client, we did like a full day shooting, and she'd been doing so much work on herself that by the time she actually was picking the photos, she didn't like any of them because they were no longer representative of who she was. She could no longer see herself in them because they were quite masculine, and she'd really tapped into her femininity. And she's like, that's not who I am anymore. Like, I know it's only been a few weeks, but I don't know what to do now.
It's so true, because it can change so instantly. When we do that inner work on the inside, it's like instantaneous how it shifts on the outside.
Yeah, fabulous. So you obviously help people in business to read people's faces. How does that help them?
No. I help people to understand themselves. So I don't train people to read other people's faces, but I'll share with you aspects with yourself to embrace, you know, so you know what your zone of genius is and also what's holding you back. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
So who are the people that you actually help? Like, what are the sorts of people that come to you and say, look, I really need to find out more about this?
It's people that are in transition. That's where, like, I've read over 700 faces. I've read so many different types of people and different background, and the people that really benefit from it are those that are at that crossroads point where it's like, what's going on right now is not working for me, and I'm not sure what the next step is. So and particularly in business, like I'm finding at the moment, you know, and because of the circumstance that we're in right now, people are like, oh, how do I make this work for me?
Mm.
So we first do like a whole psychosomatic assessment to actually remember who we are before even taking that next step, because so much we can like run into like, oh my God, I better do this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hang on a second, who am I? What am I here to actually do and create?
Yeah, because it's so true. You get stuck in that energy of, I've just got to take action, whatever action, it doesn't matter. Like, just got to put something out there because, I've got to pivot and whatever it looks like. And really, you just have to surrender.
And my biggest saying at the moment is slow down to speed up. Like, just slow down. It's so funny. Whenever people come, when they used to visit Bali, it's not so much right now, I would laugh because they'd be like, I'm so relaxed. And they're still going at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I'm like, not quite. Like, there is a real art to slowing down and listening because your body actually gives so much information to you about what's the next step, where you need to go as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I find it really hard to just slow down and relax. I am definitely one of those people, but I find if I do something like cleaning or gardening or something where it's like mindless, that's when I can actually tap into that.
It's like give your masculine something to do so you can just tune out and
yeah, for sure. So you do work with the chakras as well. Tell me how that works.
So psychosomatics actually works strongly with the chakra system. So basically, as I said before, like your face is a representation of your whole body. So your whole chakra system is in your face. And each chakra energy relates to a different area of your life, a different emotional intelligence, different behaviors, and obviously physical parts of your body. So how the chakras sort of come into play is that it helps to connect the dots between what's going on. So it's like, listen to what you're actually feeling. It's not like I'm just feeling good or bad. It's like, what are you actually feeling? Are you feeling frustration, resentment, anger, whatever? And then how do you shift that? And when you understand what emotions are related to what chakra energy, or what part of your body is related to what chakra energy, that relates to a different area of your life, but it also relates to a different area of your business. So through knowing your emotions, you actually will know where to look at in your business instead of just feeling an overwhelm and thinking, oh God, I don't even know where to start,
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, it's just it's a navigational tool that we can use in everyday life, but especially in our business, to make sure that we're keeping everything in alignment as well.
Yeah. And it's so important to have that emotional intelligence in your business so that you're not acting from your emotions and you can kind of separate yourself from that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, it's also very intriguing.
I know. And like so when I talk about the chakras in your face, so depending on the shape of your features, how large, small, all sorts of things will tell about your personality traits, like what you're really good at. So the other thing is that so many people in business, like they're given a strategy and they're trying to follow the strategy, but then it might not actually be what suits their personality type,
Yes.
So it's like remembering what you're really good at and focusing on those aspects rather than trying to do it. And we've all done it. I mean, I've done it as well, even though I know this work. It's like, because when you're learning something new, you're just sort of working with it, but then you've got to know within yourself what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes the recipe isn't written for everybody.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's why we all look different. I mean, if we were all meant to have the same recipe, we'd all look the same. And what a boring world that would be.
Oh, I love it. So have you got something that you can share with our audience so that they can kind of tap into a little bit of this knowledge?
Sure. So do you want me to share some aspects of the face reading?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for those who are familiar with the chakra system, basically this is how it goes on your face. And I have to remember this is a podcast, not just video as well.
Talk it out.
So your chin is related to your base chakra energy and how you feel supported in life. So if you've got a pointy chin, you're more likely to be a little bit more sensitive and need to really co-create some good support networks around you. If you're more square-chinned, You're probably going to have a more practical sort of tendency about you, but that also means that you feel like you can do everything on your own, which is also sometimes a dangerous place to play. So just knowing where you're at in terms of that. Your mouth is related to your sacral chakra energy. So this is about our creativity, our abundance, our well-being, and our pleasure as well. Your top lip is related to your creativity and sensuality. So if you've got a really nice, juicy, big top lip with a nice curve, that person's going to have a lot of that energy and they'll be expressing that. The thinner the lips, the more held back that energy is. So there's no right or wrong around face reading. It's actually just knowing where you're at and what you need to sort of work with. And the bottom lip is your communication lip. So if people have a really big bottom lip compared to the top one, I always say to these people, just watch it, because they can be a little bit, they can bite back at times. Like when they're triggered, they can give a bit of lip, you know? So, and I always say, if that is someone, it's like, look at what the trigger is, like what's really going on? Like, why did you bite back? And work with that, so then that can sort of calm down a little bit. And I'm racing through this, by the way. Like a face reading consult goes for like an hour, so there's so much you can see in your face. Your nose is related to your solar plexus energy, which is all about your personal identity and leadership style. So you'll notice that the nose is the only feature of the face that actually comes forward. And so it's like, how are we going to step out? How are we going to lead? What's that like? And someone who's got a very long nose will take on responsibility quite well. Someone who's got more of a short button nose, they're going to be more fun, happy-go-lucky. And I've actually got a friend who has a nose like that, and she's always like, I just don't want to do this. And I'm like, it's because you're just not made for it. Like, you know, go with the joy. Like yours is all about going with the joy, whereas someone who likes responsibility, they actually gladly take it on. They're like, I'm going to, you know, do this. Your eyes are related to your heart chakra energy. That's why they say the eyes are the window to the soul. It's all about compassion and connection. Eyebrows are really important. This is about your throat chakra energy, and you've got great eyebrows. No wonder you're doing podcasts and love talking and communicating. The more defined they are, and in fact, I probably need to do a little bit of work on mine at the moment, the better the communication is that you'll be sending out to people, and the better they will actually receive the information that you have to share with them as well. You've actually also got a piercing on around your eyebrow too, so it's also bringing more attention to your communication on the business side of things rather than the personal side of things. So it doesn't,
It's good to know.
And then the brow chakra is around in your forehead, and the crown chakra up the top. So this is all about how you use your mental energy, how well you tap into your intuition, and also how creative or how rebellious or how intertwined in your ancestry you can be in terms of behaviors and playing out. So that is it in a nutshell, very quick nutshell.
Yeah.
A short show.
Oh, I know, it's definitely something I want to dive in a little bit deeper. So if the listeners want to find out more about this or where they can find you, what's the best place to reach you at?
Yeah. The best place is my website, which is seedtosoul.com.au. And on that, there's actually a free face reading for business workshop. So you can actually go in there and there's a whole thing that will take you through all of it. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram.
Fantastic. So I'll make sure I put those links in the show notes on our website. So if anyone's looking for that, it's leoniebolt.com/podcasts. And of course, it'll be on all the podcasting streaming channels, but that's where you'll find the links if you're looking for those. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been amazing talking to you, and I'm so intrigued. I'm going to have to go and do that one on your website now.
Yeah, I know. It's been great. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Shine podcast. My name's Leonie Bolt, and I'm glad that you were able to join us today. I hope you got some serious inspiration from today's episode. If you'd like to find more episodes, go to leoniebolt.com/podcasts or start subscribing on your favorite podcast streaming channel. I look forward to seeing you again soon.